we are holding and organizing together with our partners from the Dutch Embassy in Prague, but also with partners from Havel and Partners, and also with the Dutch or Netherlands Czech Chamber of Commerce, and also our partners from Komerční banka, the Foundation Jistota, and Climate Kick. It's important to mention because without them we wouldn't be able to meet today and to share the news and very interesting and also very practical information about circular public procurement, which we see as a very, very important part of circular economy topic in general in Czech Republic, but also as a part of pathway, how to make it happen and make it a part of our everyday reality. I'm very glad that we have our honored guest from the Netherlands, but also from the Czech Republic joining today to share quite quickly what's going on in our fields of interest and how we can work together. I still remember being in the Netherlands and studying at the University of Wageningen and being always surprised by the approach that people from the Netherlands are not very often asking the question why we should do something, but they're always saying, why not? Let's try it. And this is something what I'm bringing home every time when I'm going back and when I'm thinking about some important changes that we would like to see around us. And I think that we can learn this approach to be sure that we will be kind of able to jump in new waters of circularity in public procurements that we will learn today that is very important and very big topic, not just in the Czech Republic, but in whole Europe, because how we buy things is actually changing the world, and we are giving a voting and votes for innovations and for organizations or companies that we want to have around. Today, we have very important and also very interesting speakers being part of our program, and I'm really glad that all of you made time to join us, and those that will be seeing this seminar from record can jump in the discussions afterwards, because I'm pretty sure that this is not just the first seminar. We've been holding many of them, but also it's important bridge between the Netherlands and Czech Republic. But not to make it too long, and definitely I'll be trying to do those bridges between all the speakers during the seminar. I like to make you sure that you will be listening not just about Dutch experiences and inspiration, and also good cases from concrete companies or from concrete cases that we'll be presenting to you, but you will also see that also in Czech Republic we are doing quite interesting things. We are having very well-working digital platforms that can help to Dutch companies, but also Czech companies get easily oriented themselves in the field of public procurement. But also we have platforms that are kind of enabling circular economy happening in Czech Republic and also on European level in the field of reusing, recycling, and really using secondary materials instead of primary ones. But we have definitely also very important guests from our Czech ministries to learn what's the current status quo and what's going on. And at the end of the seminar, we will be having also closing words and a bit of inspiration, how to make it happen, how to close the loop together. So thank you for attending the seminar, and I'd like to personally invite Jacqueline Kramer, who happens to be really my one of inspirational ladies that I'm following, because I see how impactful and how great job is Jacqueline doing in the Netherlands with creating platforms, and not just creating them, but also spreading awareness, how to make them working, and how networks in circular economy play important roles. And also I have to mention that Jacqueline is also bringing concrete cases, showing us what it can bring in practice. So Jacqueline, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Very nice to be here and to present my lecture. My presentation is about circular procurement, and I will share with you the lessons learned from the Amsterdam metropolitan area. I'm very involved both in Holland Circular Hotspot as the chair of the HCH, and I'm also very involved in the Amsterdam Economic Board. Let me explain why I think that it is important to talk about circular economy. Knowing that the amount of natural resources used worldwide is rapidly growing, then you can imagine that the urgency to move to a circular economy becomes really, really obvious. We used to need only one Earth to provide us the necessary raw materials. Today, it is 1.75 Earth we need. And if we continue like we do now, then we need 3 Earth in 2050. That's why we have to move from a linear economy where we take raw materials, make products out of it and dispose of it right away, to a circular economy in which we use all the products, materials, and resources in a very prudent way and make sure that we keep them in the cycles. And use sustainable energy sources to make the products, and also to guarantee the resilience of natural systems in order to make sure that we don't take too much from the Earth that the Earth can't handle. So that's really what we have to do. And if we say then this in more simple terms, and I like to use this ladder of circularity, which I always use in practice, because it clearly shows that there is an order of priority. High on the list is refuse, don't use the raw materials. Then you reduce the materials per unit of product. Then you renew the product, redesign the product in view of circularity. Then there are a couple of options that relate to product reuse. You can reuse the product, repair the product, refurbish the product, that means revive the product. You can remanufacture the product, and you can repurpose the product. That means that you reuse the product, but with another function. And finally, you can recycle the product, but the pieces of the product, the materials, and in that way strive for the highest possible value. And the lowest step on the ladder of circularity, that is recover. And actually, that is not circularity anymore, because then you incinerate waste with energy recovery. Well, so what are the main challenges in circular economy? That is that you focus on prevention, redesign and reuse of products, and on high-value recycling, reuse of resource streams. And the cross-cutting challenge is to stimulate circular entrepreneurship, make it happen via business. And in the Amsterdam Economic Region, we formulated 2 strategies which relate to the main pillars, namely circular procurement, focusing on prevention, redesign, and the reuse of products. And the second strategy relates to closing the loop of resource streams, which relates more to recycling and upcycling. And all our efforts are joint efforts where we actually set up initiatives with business, local government, researchers, and often also citizens. So this kind of endeavors we carry out in our region, densely populated area, relatively densely populated, 2.3 million people, and 32 municipalities are active in this region. And what we do is we actually try to set up initiatives, not focusing on an individual municipality, but on a joint effort of all these municipalities. When we go now to this strategy that is central in the webinar today, then I like to explain you what we did in the context of circular procurement to stimulate prevention and circular products. Well, what we did is we organized communities of practice, in total 3. And each community consisted of 11 participants, and these were all commissioning parties of business, research, or universities, and also local government. And for each community, we organized 6 sessions. And the objective of this community was to learn from each other, exchange knowledge, and set up joint initiative. And why is this so important? Because we think that when you join the effort of circular procurement, you can speed up the process, both within your own organization, but also via the other commissioning parties, and also in relation to your suppliers, because you have more power to ask certain things of your suppliers. Let me give some examples of the type of procurement initiatives we took. Of course, you can repair, especially in the area of ICT. We did quite some work on that. We also stimulated to use discarded wood, for instance, and some companies make wonderful design furniture of that. You see that on the screen. And we also promoted to reuse the office chairs and all the other office furniture, because you can really make it look completely new, while the costs are lower and the labor you include is higher. So that's what we like to promote. And we have also quite some examples of circular demolition and circular building and reuse and redesign of buildings. You see here a nice set of buildings that these buildings are completely based on using the materials once again. So 90% recycled materials. If we go now to the key results of the work we did, all governments at local level, the 32 governments, they have joined forces now, and they work together in their own community and they coordinate their procurement efforts. They have targets set for 2022, yes, 10% circular procurement, in 2025, 50%, and 100% as soon after it is feasible. And business and educational and research institutes, they follow a similar collective approach. And we, as an economic board, coordinate that effort. And we focus particularly on those products that relate to their own facilities. And what we did now is we set up joint efforts to use the collective purchasing power to really make a redesign of some of the products. Take, for instance, ICT products and data servers. We are improving the circularity together at the moment through procurement. And the last slide I have, that's actually a summary of all the key drivers and preconditions that I encountered in doing this work. Of course, there are a lot of economic business barriers. There are regulatory and legal barriers. There are social barriers. You see that in the slide. But, to overcome these, there are several drivers that are key. You have to have what I call transition brokers, intermediaries that are able to mobilize power, to mobilize communities, for instance. Secondly, you have to have a trustworthy cooperation with the suppliers. Third, there should be innovation. and that is the work to be done by market actors. We have to rearrange the financial, costs and benefits, because often we need new business models. And lastly, the collaboration with other commissioning parties is really a key driver. But then there are a number of preconditions, and these mainly relate to internal processes. These are very, very important. About 80% of our discussions focused on the preconditions I mentioned. Internal commitment of key actors in the own organization, internal resources, adaptation of accountancy rules to new business models, and examples, successful examples of showcases that make bidders less risk averse. So these are very, very important preconditions and drivers. And if you like to know more about the work we have done, then you can download my book, and you can find it on the website of the Amsterdam Economic Board, and you see the title on the slide. I thank you so much for your attention, and sorry for the slow start, I would say.
There is absolutely no problem, Jacqueline. I have to just say that we've been using your book as an inspiration for setting up a platform around memorandum about circular economy in public procurement. And it's really, really practical. And it's also showing good cases. It's showing how we can work together. And it's also important, I guess, for many European platforms that are trying to make circular economy happening in practice. So thank you very much for also sharing of your experiences. And maybe I'd like to ask you just super fast question. What is always the most important at the beginning of creating this kind of new platforms of different stakeholders with different interests? What, from your point of view, is something that we should still keep in mind?
Well, all the parties that you want to get involved have to have their own reason, their own motivation and urgency to join. And that can be different motivations, but they all have the idea, well, I miss the boat when I don't participate.
Thank you for that. Thank you for what you're doing also for us, because I think that this platform for sharing that we are having together, the circular hotspot platform globally, it's helping a lot to spread awareness and share the knowledge. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. And I think that this is just right moment to jump deeper in practice, thanks to Johan Prumel, who's been working with us for quite some time. And I still remember Johan presenting the Green Deal long before a European Green Deal was so well discussed as it is right now. And these small Green Deals that are actually happening in the Netherlands for almost last 10 years or something like that was a great inspiration for us, because to bring people together just to make something on voluntarily taken basis is something that I really believe in. And I still remember that you've been presenting that you've started with circular economy in public procurement already in 2013, if I'm not wrong. So I think that from who else we can learn something more. So the floor is yours, Jan. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'll share my slides in a minute. I have to warn you though, I just switched my connection because somehow I got lost a few times. It seems unstable, but I hope everything works fine. Yeah, like you said, Sonia, I've been working on this quite some time. We started in 2013 with our first Green Deal, and before that we were already experimenting. But at the time that meant that we were real pioneering and front runners, and nowadays, luckily, we can say that a lot of people all over the world, and especially in Europe, are working with procurement in order to engage and stimulate circular economy, because that's actually what it is. Circular procurement is not so much about procurement changing, but about using procurement as an instrument to stimulate, to enable circular economy. What I'll share with you in the next 15 minutes is some experience we have on networks. Before I forget it, I really recommend all of you reading the book that Jacqueline wrote and just published, because there are some major insights that can help anybody who wants to start with circular procurement. We have another book, and that's in my slides as well, that also will be very helpful, but Jacqueline's book has another view on the same topics, and it's really helpful to read that. So please download it and read it. I work for this team at the Dutch government, our Sustainable Public Procurement team, with the aim for, in the end, we want a 100% sustainable and fair and circular world. Won't we all? What we feel is that a strong international circular economy is beneficial for everybody. And therefore also for us in the Netherlands, we have an aim to become circular in 2050. And we can only get there if everybody in the world helps us by getting circular as well. And what's important to share is our way of work is to share whatever we learn, whatever we know with other countries, with other organizations, in networks and in partnerships. I thought it was important to share that this is where I come from. And this is the reason that we do so much on sharing, providing workshops, etc. So for today, I'll talk a bit about peer learning in the Netherlands, our first Green Deal, our ambition to create 1,000 circular business cases all over Europe, and I'll share some lessons learned. First, it's important to have the bigger picture, the broader picture, circular economy as a system. And this is just one way of looking at it, but it's a very easy and convenient view on you have your resources. And in a circular economy, a lot of these resources should be secondary materials, should be renewable materials. With the resources, you create products, and production starts with design. So proper design means not too much materials, the right materials, design for disassembly, design for all the 10 R's that Jacqueline mentioned, and then comes the use phase, and that's where we get involved, because use means find a way of buying or leasing or renting a product, using it and reusing it all over and over again. So the business models which include reuse are somewhere between production and delivery and procurement. Procurement is influencing from its own position the whole system of a product. What you'll find in the book of Jacqueline, and I don't know if she mentioned it, is the role of the transition broker. And I agree with her that that's a very important position. And it's not up to procurement to be that transition broker, but it is up to the one who takes initiative in the chain to try to find the transition broker. You can do it yourself, or you can find another one, but try to find a position that connects players around the system. So your designer, the user of the product, the recycler of the product, if you put them together, then you can set your next step in circularity. You'll never close a loop on your own. You'll need the rest of the chain to comply and to collaborate with. So our work, sharing and learning. We stimulate working examples. That's what we work for. We start always from what's going on, what can we do, how can we improve, and what does it mean? So we stimulate working examples in pilots or in full-scale tenders. We analyze what we find, we share what we find, we support others by setting up their own pilots, and that way we create new working examples, which we learn from again. And we keep nothing for ourselves. So everything we learn, we will share with the rest of the world. One of the things we did is in 2013 set up a Green Deal, and at that time Green Deal was a concept between the Dutch national government and other partners in the society, and it was our Green Deal basically was a learning network. Other Green Deals are different, and it had well, practically nothing to do with the concept of Green Deal that the European Commission has embraced now. That's a broad agreement all over Europe. Ours was very small between our national government and other parties. So what we did is we had 50 participants committing to two simple things. One is they would set up 2 pilots with circular procurement, and the second commitment was they would share what they learned. Because again, like Jacqueline said, you learn faster, you improve faster, and you develop faster if you do it together. So we create a peer-to-peer environment where participants could share, could do their own experimenting, and that way creating 100 circular pilots. And in our view, 100 circular pilots means 100 working circular business cases, because anything you buy in a more circular way than you used to will create an opportunity for a business model for your supplier to make money in a more circular way than he used. So it's not full-scale circular economy, but it is a first step towards a circular business model. So a pilot in circular procurement will create a working circular business case. These are the participants of our second Green Deal, which has finished already. It finished last year, and what we want is have these type of learning networks with simple commitments spread all over Europe, because we feel that it's a way to accelerate the learning, to accelerate circular economy in practice, practice-based learning, peer-to-peer learning. So what we did is actually try to find out why this was successful and then start sharing. Well, the secrets of success, it's learning by doing, it's learning with your peers, it is creating real circular impact, and it is therefore stimulating and reshaping the market. And participants, we asked them, what's in it for you? Well, they said, we create new partnerships. We find in our peers in the Green Deal, we find new partnerships to work with or to learn with. Second, the label of this learning network attracted visibility. It was very interesting for the participants to put this label on their websites and in their communication. And third, more cooperation and understanding between government and participants. That's always nice to have. Learning networks in Europe. It's important to understand that circular economy does not stop at the borders. Learning networks can be local hubs to share not only within your country, but also between countries. Learning networks therefore can accelerate real circular impact and accelerate circular economy. And this is why we say we want to have 1,000 working business cases, because it means that we'll have at least 10 learning networks where participants create their own 100 pilots with circular economy. The next step outside of Europe is actually going abroad, going global, and that's what we're going to do. So we had these networks in the Netherlands twice, Flanders, Paris, Central Regio in Portugal, Finland. There was interest from the Czech Republic actually just before COVID, so we'll talk about that after summer, I guess. We are talking with Ireland about their own learning network. We're talking with the United States of America, and that's very interesting, being huge and being not European. And we have some conversation going on with Singapore. So if that all works out, we already have our 10 Green Deals. We work a lot in transnational projects. That's also very important. Connect your learning process with the learning process of others in projects that actually are partly financed by the European Commission. So make use of the subsidies of the bigger programs like LIFE and Interact to create your own learning environment and then start sharing from there. And we have some international initiatives with the United Nations, the One Planet Network. We work a lot with ICLE and ICR Plus, and we are setting up, as we speak, an international partnership for circular IT. You have to look it up on Google because I didn't have time to add the website to my slides yet, but it's very interesting to stimulate circularity in a global sector like ICT, using procurement as one of the levers to change the market. So what comes next for us is create an umbrella, and we call it CPRON. CPRON is Circular Procurement Network, but it's also short for chaperone. It's your friendly guidance. It's the one who helps you, and that's exactly the role that this umbrella should have. It's a network that we envision that connects the international initiatives and the projects and the networks. There's a lot going on, but everybody needs every now and then to find out the wheel on its own, and that's not necessary. There's a lot of knowledge and insight. Let's start using what's already out there. This is what it'll look like, and I'll do it fast. CPRO will be about connecting, and it will be about sharing and support. So it's about knowledge and insights. It's about finding tools and sharing the tools, creating guidance for all the participants, and connect the peer initiatives, connect the people, connect the experts to provide active support. Lessons learned, I see that I have to speed up a little. First lesson, benefits of circular procurement. And actually, this is a quite simple one. It's about all the benefits of circular economy. It's about reducing your carbon footprint. It's about reducing materials footprint. It's about reducing waste and land use and water use, job creation, stimulate innovation. It's everything you expect from circular economy. Why? Because you put your own ambition in your circular procurement. So what you expect to come out, you'll get it. And that means that circular procurement has something for everybody. Circular procurement actually is circular economy. Second lesson, appreciate the chain. There's a lot going on about where to start, and where to start, we say it doesn't matter. You need to appreciate that in a supply chain, in a value chain, you can only change one step at a time. You'll never create 100% circularity in step one. Actually, I believe you'll never create a 100% circular economy at all. That's not possible at the moment. You can start at any point that you feel you can make a difference, that you find a partner to collaborate with to change the reuse of the product, or to change the design of the product, or to develop markets for recycled materials. Whatever your position is, where you find collaboration, you can start. The third very important insight is there's something like potential and reality. Technically, it's quite easy to create a product that's 100% recyclable. Financially, we all buy these products, so apparently there's a business case between the supplier and the user to start buying and using that product. But on the process level is where you actually create your impact. The first two are potential, but you will only create circular impact if you actually recycle that chair that is 100% recyclable. If you don't, it will get incinerated. And like Jacqueline said, incineration for us is not circular economy. It actually has nothing to do with sustainability. It's just destroying your materials and your resources. So keep in mind that potential is of interest and necessary, but it all comes down to the process. And a part of the process will be facilitated by the way you arrange your contracts, because that's what you can do with procurement. You can arrange a contract in a way that circularity will happen, that a product will be repaired, that the product will be reused, that it will be recycled end of life. So procurement enables impact. The fourth lesson, circular procurement is not about purchasing. Well, at least not alone. Circular procurement is about your whole organization. Remember the internal commitment that we heard about. You need to understand that circular procurement is a way to get circular economy in your organization. So it's not only about how to buy stuff and how to set up your contract, but it's also how to enforce your client, the budget holder, the manager. These are the ones who make the actual procurement decisions, and they do that actually most of the time before they go to the procurement department. So if you want to make a real change, you have to have the right decisions before you start specifying your needs, because that's where decisions about sustainability, circularity, carbon emissions, all kind of quality aspects of a product are made before the client or the budget holders comes to the procurement department. Keep that in mind. There's a lot going on in your organization before they go to procurement. So circular procurement is about trying to gain influence in that process. The fifth lesson, circular procurement is more than just a set of criteria. If there was such a thing like a set of criteria for circularity, we would have used that already worldwide. As an example, the old telephone is made to last a very long time. My grandfather used one of these around 65 years, which is an excellent example of long lifetime, could be part of the design of circular economy. The iPhone from number 5 actually is repairable, and repairability is also an important step in circularity. But the procurer needs to decide, I want to call somebody, which of the two is the most circular, provides the most circular way of doing that? And the answer, well, actually for me, it's an easy answer. The answer is it depends, because a product is not circular by design. A product is not circular because it is repairable or recyclable or designed for a long life. A product is only circular if we together make it happen, if we together arrange the process for a longer life, for repair, reuse, remanufacturing, and recycling at the end. And if it's only potential, then there's nothing circular about it. So circular by design is not enough. It's an important issue, but it's not enough to create circularity. Well then, almost at the end of my presentation. Is there a magic formula? Sure there is. It's not easy, but in the same time, it is easy. We can all just start doing this. What Sonja said at the beginning, and I don't know if it's typically Dutch, but I encounter it quite a lot. If we think we know enough, then we can set the first step and we learn on our way. And I think that's where we are with circular economy. We have to learn on our way, growing into a broader circular economy, but setting our own small first steps first. I'll share 2 last slides with you very briefly. You'll get my presentation. There's a lot of tools for support out there already. And the red ones actually are live support, and the rest is you can find online. Publications, fact sheets, the book Circular Procurement in 8 Steps of Cecile van Oppen from the Netherlands. We have a roadmap on circular procurement as a criteria tool, which actually helps you with almost copy-paste the criteria for your tender, depending on what your ambitions and your aims are. We can provide a lot of these, and partly, like I said, they're online. So if you get the slides, go to the last slide, that's this one, and then you'll find links to the book, to websites, to more about learning networks, to the fact sheets of like 80 pilots that we've done already, the circular procurement guide, very interesting and informative, etc., etc. Very useful, not only if you're a starter, but also if you're more advanced and want to learn more about the specific sector or product group or whatever. This was my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for having here. And I really hope that next time that we'll meet, I'll be somewhere in Prague, hopefully, or at least in your beautiful country. Thank you very much.
And we really hope that it will be soon, because every time you're coming in here and bringing concrete cases during your seminars is not just practical, but it's also quite a lot of fun to discuss what can happen during public procurement. And I still remember when we were having last seminar at the Ministry of Agriculture that the reaction of participants was that finally it makes sense, that we can do procurement in a way that people who are preparing all the documents and all the papers, they can see the change that is happening afterwards. And my question is, if you have, for example, some current cases that actually brought you some positive energy in a way that it was done, that it was affecting concrete communities, or it was bringing some interesting results that you can share with us, like from your personal point of view, because I know that you're not working just in the Netherlands, but around the whole Europe. So it's very inspiring. Yeah,
and your question is?
If you've seen some of those projects that really inspired you in a way that it left quite interesting approach in any way. I mean, bringing concrete jobs creation or something specific.
Well, there's a lot of practical examples, and I won't share all of them, but it's an interesting question. We have been working in a project called Circular PP, and that has ended recently, Circular Public Procurement, together with the city of Malmö in Sweden, and Aalborg in Denmark, and Riga not in Estonia, that's Latvia. What we found out is that actually people started working with our insights, and we really could see it, and it happened, and they set major steps in a very simplistic way. All these cases are actually in fact sheets, and they were studied by some academic institutes as well. All the participants decided that they wanted to continue collaboration. So together we now are looking for a next project, because like you said, it's also about having a lot of fun, enjoying your work. This was really pleasant, because it's not only about sharing insights, it's also about seeing them put to practice. And the second one, and then I'll stop, just the other week, last week, we presented the Portuguese translation of the book, 8 Steps Towards Circular Procurement. Well, without going into the reasoning of that, in Portugal, they set up a Green Deal on circular procurement like 2 years ago. We helped them with that. And then came Corona, and we didn't have much contact. So I actually had no clue on how far they were and how practical they went. And during that presentation, CCDRC, the organization that facilitated their Green Deal, actually presented a whole series of very practical examples of municipalities in their learning network that were all just putting into practice whatever they thought circular economy was. And it was about materials in coffee cups, it was about the furniture of their building, it was about street furniture, it was about anything. And they just implemented their own thinking in the products that they were using on a day-to-day basis. And that was just so marvelous to see. That really made me proud that it actually works to have your own learning network on a local basis in your country, or maybe even in a region, and then start learning together and working together. So I can really appreciate the Green Deal, the learning network in Czech coming up.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, and thank you for so much inspiration, and also for creating this kind of international platforms, because as we can see, the circular economy principles and good cases can really be shared among different countries, because it's just about up to us to implement it locally. So thank you very much once again for your job and for everything what you are doing for this topic, Jan. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. I have the best job in the national government here, and maybe in Europe. I don't know.
Yeah. True. Thank you very much. And my pleasure is to introduce a third Dutch speaker, who is Rob Kracht from Target. And I'm also glad that we have speakers from the companies showing us how their solution can be quite easily implemented in maybe your future procurement in your future projects, because as you might see, it's bringing not just sustainably but also economically valuable solutions. So Rob, if you can hear us, if you can see us, we already see your presentation, so the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our story again this afternoon. My name is Rob Kracht, and I'm working at Target. And let me try to see if my pointer works. Yes. Target is the third producer of flooring products in the world. And that means that I have 12,500 colleagues. We sell our products in 100 countries. And this is still frightening, I think. On a daily basis, we sell 1.3 million square meters of flooring every day. That's huge. We do that with 34 industrial sites, but also important, we have 8 recycling plants. And sustainability is all about innovation, so it's extremely important that we have 25 R&D centers. The good thing of Target is that they both different companies and they merged them into this organization. And that means that we now have the widest range of products available for floors, from vinyl to linoleum and from carpet to wood. But the other good thing is sustainability strategy of Target. Well, this is not new to you, of course. The world is changing, the climate is changing, and it was already mentioned this afternoon, resources are getting scarce. And if there's one thing becoming clear that during this pandemic, health and well-being is extremely important. It's the one top topic that we can talk about. And that's the reason that Target wants to create a circular economy. We have to use safe and healthy ingredients, and we have to produce products that actually contribute to a better interior climate. And for us, circularity is based on the cradle principles. Cradle for me is the basis for the circular economy, with a big difference that cradle, you have to start with healthy and safe ingredients. That means that for more than decades now, for a decade now, we've been analyzing all our raw materials to make sure that our customers can have peace of mind in using the products in a safe way, but also recycling them in a safe way. But let's take a dive in one of the products. 6 years ago, Target bought Desso. Desso is a Dutch manufacturer of carpet tiles, a leading manufacturer of carpet tiles, and a pioneer, actually. And it already started in 2010 as a pioneer in cradle cradle. What we had to do was change the traditional bitumen backing into a certified cradle-to-cradle backing. And that it meant redesigning the product, as John already said. Target took things actually even a step further, because Target invested in a production facility that makes it possible to produce these cradle circular carpet tiles in huge quantities. And they did more. They also upscaled the disassembling installation that Desso had developed into a real factory where you can not only separate the product, but also make sure that you can reuse all the materials from these products. And from that, the factory, from this development, and a cooperation started between Target, this is our CEO, and Aquafil, this is Mr. Bonassi of Aquafil. Because what happens is, when the tiles come back, the old post-used, post-consumer tiles are coming back. In this factory, on a large scale, we can separate it into backing material. The backing material is going back into our process to produce new backings from. And the yarn that is being separated from the old tiles is going back to Aquafil to produce 100% regenerated polyamide 6 yarn. We are closing the loop. We are doing it. The general challenge is we're the only ones that do it. Where you see that most of our colleagues focus on the carbon issue, carbon neutrality, carbon offsetting, or even carbon negative products. If you look at, because of the recycling, we have the highest saving of CO2 in the industry. But at the same time, we are only ones that, and it is because of recycling. But if you look at the EPDs in the industry, we are the only ones that actually in the EPD have in there a third-party verified recycling process. And that makes the difference. It's not about carbon. Carbon is just part of the solution. Circularity is the solution for the problems that we're facing today. That's our opinion. And that's why we also innovate in lots of other products. Our linoleum is not just 100% recyclable. We're also looking into methods. My interior climate can be a bit better. We're looking into methods that you can recycle our linoleum in a post-consumer way. This means rinsing installations, all kinds of innovations. Innovations in PVC floors that you no longer have to glue down, but they're installed loosely. Makes it much more easy to reuse and to recycle in the end. Even non-PVC solutions in very popular flooring products like LVT. And this is another pioneer role that Target is following. We're also producing PVC no longer from fossil oil, but from bio-based oil. So as you can see, we are really looking at this in a holistic, it's a bit popular, but in a holistic approach, making sure that everything is becoming as circular as possible. And everything is important, not just carbon neutrality. This is a huge challenge, but it was already mentioned this afternoon earlier. We can only achieve this when we start cooperating, not only with our customers, but also with organizations, with governments, and with other companies, probably companies in furniture, for instance. Because cooperation, that is the key to achieve this. And luckily, also already we have some cooperations in the Czech Republic as well, because it is possible, we can make a difference, but we have to do it together. Was that within 5 minutes?
It was exactly on time. And thank you very much for bringing so much energy, because right now I was just thinking how boring it's sometimes it is to buy new things, to really think about everything twice, to think about the whole life cycle of all the products, to think if it will really last as long as we think it will. And I'm always just surprisingly seeing what Zeso and Target is doing with all the innovations, that it's hard to even keep track in your innovation process. And I'm just curious, you are one of the first companies getting a cradle-to-cradle certification, which is really hard to get. Is it something that is helping you to get new customers, or how is the situation right now? And if there are customers exactly asking for this concrete certification, are they asking for it like among the whole Europe, or do you have some specific markets where the customers are more sensitive and looking for these solutions, or how is the situation right now?
It is really helping us, but it is depending on the region where you are. And if you look at the beginning, I mean, I am from Dessau. I'm Target now, but I am from Dessau. And in the beginning, we started in 2008. We were shouting in the desert. But at the moment, most of our colleagues are following the same route. So cradle is becoming really, really important. And it's depending on the region where you are. It's clear that in Holland, indeed, it makes a difference when you are cradle certified. In Scandinavia as well. In Eastern Europe, it is coming. It's absolutely coming. It is probably less, but it is. And it starts with the international companies that are situated in your countries. And it is spreading to local companies as well. So indeed, it makes a difference. And for me, cradle, like I said, the big difference is that we have to start with healthy and safe ingredients. And that makes a difference, because circular economy sometimes, for me, starts to become the new greenwashing. Everything is circular. And Mr. Braungart said, yes, you can also recycle poison. Is that the right thing to do? No, of course not. So cradle certification, like I said, gives our customers peace of mind. So that it is important. I really think it is. And as you can see, more and more companies are starting to do it. So it's proof that it is.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. And thank you for mentioning greenwashing, because it's another big topic right now. What is circular? How we are going to use the measurement to really measure something which is sometimes not measurable. So thank you for that. I'm glad that you've joined us today, and I'm pretty sure that we will use your know-how for next matchmaking events that will be more concrete. And I'm sure that Czech public procurement bodies will be inspired by your case. So thank you very much, Rob, for being with us. And good luck with all your projects that you're working on right now.
Okay.
Thank you. And if Jiří is somewhere around, I will pass the floor to you, Jiří. Thank you very much for coming here, because as I can see, what that lab is doing lately, it's bringing amazing results. It's bringing amazing numbers, and it's actually bringing transparency in very specific field. And I'm really curious about how is the situation in Czech Republic regarding to green procurement, or how we are doing in general, also for our Dutch partners to see what's the current state. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just please confirm that you all see the presentation.
Yes, we see it.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for having me, and thanks to the organizers for inviting me. Hopefully, I'll be worth your time, even though I have to admit I'm from procurement data company, so not surprisingly, I'll present data analysis, which doesn't sound really fancy. However, I think this one should be interesting for you, mainly because of what Mrs. Kramer was speaking about, and that was about barriers of social and cultural barriers towards adapting new ways of doing public procurement. And because I think this is one of the critical points for us in Czech Republic, which we should be thinking about now. I'll start with one controversial point, saying that what we currently have is the culture of the lowest price, which might be harmful for innovative procurement, for social procurement, and for circular procurement as well. You can disagree with it, and I'm perfectly fine with saying, okay, in the end, you might be saving money by doing some forms of procurement, but I don't think that's the typical case we are seeing now. But forget this for a while, and let's take a look at a couple of numbers we've produced over time. I'll start with short analysis of award criteria. So basically, we'll be looking at tip of an iceberg of buyer priorities. When buyer says, okay, I want to buy this and that, and my priority is 100% price, or I have priorities this and that. So what I'm saying is that award criteria give us some indication of what is the main focus of the buyers. Of course, it needs to be noted that besides award criteria, that is hodnotící ukazatele ve veřejných hodnotící kritéria ve veřejných zakázkách, that is qualification criteria, specifications, etc., where you can, for instance, reflect that you want to purchase ecologically. However, those are not well and easily processable. So we will start looking at this very tip of an iceberg, which will tell us what's maybe the culture in Czech Republic, Netherlands, and other countries. Before diving into that, I'll tell you that, yes, we are a data-driven company. We basically translated and compared the structure of award criteria throughout the whole European Union. That was project supported by Ministry of Labour and Social Affairs. Mrs. Chvalkovská will be speaking later on. So our results was... One of our nice results was this map, which is not so nice actually for Czech Republic. This map actually tells you was the average weight on price criteria in different countries of Europe. The research ended in 2019, so it's a few years back, but we will shortly see that it's valid up till today. What we basically see, we have a couple of countries typically in Western Europe, including Netherlands, where roughly one half of criteria, priorities are focused on qualitative non-price criteria, whereas typically in Eastern Europe, including Czech Republic, we have more than 90% of criteria focused on price. Actually, this is only only a preliminary analysis, so let's dive a little bit deeper. I'll start with Dutch tenders. We've been looking at those, and we basically see that roughly one half of the tenders is awarded through the lowest price, so they choose the cheapest bid. However, another one half is chosen by some combination of price and qualitative indicators, and further on we have another 5 to 10% where life cycle costs, social criteria, or other qualitative criteria are taken into account when choosing the best bidder. Whereas in Czech Republic the picture is somehow different. This is what it is. 95 of tenders actually get 95 of winners get chosen by the lowest price only, and actually some qualitative criteria are seen only in 1.5% of tendering. Of tenders. These are data from last 2 years, so it's relatively recent. However, as we'll see, this is pretty much ongoing state, which is why I call it's a cultural thing. We are used to do tenders like that. What we see, this is development of non-price criteria and their use in recent years. We see that environmental criteria were somewhere at 0.1% of all the tenders. So only 1 in 1,000 tenders is typically evaluated through environmental criteria, though this is a little bit on the rise, however not much. With qualitative criteria, it's more or less stagnating. What we see in last few years, and that's perhaps thanks to the activity of Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, is some uptake of use of social criteria. However, the important thing to look at here is the scale. We are still looking at minor fraction of the contracts. Most of it don't reflect, most of the buyers don't reflect their priorities, at least in the awarding criteria. This is why we looked a bit deeper. Some of you might know we are running a database, Tenderman CZ, which is pretty much a database of contracting documentations and suppliers. And the idea is, I want to buy something, I go to Tenderman CZ, type something I want to find, and it gives me example tendering documentations from which I can learn and perhaps issue a better tender. So analysis I will just show you is based exactly on that. We basically tried various keywords to identify green and social criteria beyond the award criteria. That is things which are present in tendering documentations. For instance, in specification of the contract, or in qualification criteria. And also we tried this brute force method of identifying which of the tenders are ecological, might be social, etc. Of course, we heavily inspected manually what we find, so it's not just a random Google-like results. It's a little bit, at least a little bit verified that those criteria we will just see actually correlate with real practice of public buyers. So here the image we are seeing is much happier. Again, I will start from the scale, because now we are not talking about units of percent, but more. And what we see is that roughly 15 to 20% of the tendering documentations are somehow referring to some ecological terms. When we inspected those, the disposal of waste was perhaps number one from what we have seen. Most importantly, what we are seeing now in 2021, most likely thanks to the legal changes, which we will talk about later on, I'm pretty sure. So what we see is pretty much an uptake in most of the criteria we've been observing. That is not only directly ecological, but also sustainability, recycling, requalifications, long-term unemployment, and use of disadvantaged employees. Even those which you hardly can see because they are really low on the scale have pretty much doubled or tripled in last year, though it's minor of minor importance. The sustainability and ecological issues are, though, on the rise in, well, past couple of months. So to summarize, the situation is pretty bad in terms that buyers aren't really used to incorporate lots of criteria in their selection processes. However, some of them tend to use those in qualification criteria or other parts of their tenders. So conclusions: there's a wide, untapped potential for use of award criteria in Czech Republic. The overall the extreme usage of price-only criterion is something where we are completely lagging behind Western Europe, and where we could do more to stimulate suppliers to come with their own inventions in how to supply better materials or more green materials, or whatever is the buyer's priority. Second thing, when we look at contracting documentations, we can see some positive trends. Only in last year we see quite a growth, especially for green criteria. Though I need to stress that the shift of priorities is cultural thing. It won't happen just by changing of the law, even though the changing of the law can give us the kickstart. What we need to do, and what buyers in Czech Republic need to do now, is learning by doing, learning by sharing, learning by copying. And that's, by the way, what our database Tenderman is trying to help them, trying to give them a sample of tendering documentations, where to start from if I want to purchase thing, blah, 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 ecologically. So that's it from me. Couple of numbers to give a fresh start for colleague from Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs. And that's it. If you want to see some of the results I've just presented, take a look in a couple of days, and at our blog, we'll be definitely writing a blog post on the results I've just shown you. So besides that, thanks you for your attention, and hopefully it was interesting for you.
It was really interesting. And thank you for the speed of bringing this data into this discussion, because we've been discussing this a few weeks ago, and you just said, yeah, we have some interesting data that we can show off. And I was like, yeah, that would be really great. And now we have this kind of quite really specific analysis that will be helping us to measure the impact of also these kind of seminars and cooperative platforms that we are creating. And as we can see, there is a big need for communication, for sharing know-how, and this is exactly why we are meeting right now. Jirko, even though you are very, I would say, well experienced in this field, was there something that surprised you the most regarding to data that you've been presenting today?
Actually, I was pleasantly surprised by the 2021 uptake, because my experience with public buyers is that most of them are really conservative and don't want to go into wild experiments. Though there is obviously lots of islands of positive deviation, how we call it, where people are willing to try new things. Of course, they're the push by law, but even after the push, I think that was mostly an incentive. Now we can really try what we actually wanted to do. So that's the first 20% of the buyers who actually caught the first wave, but still there's remaining 80% where I think the transition will be much slower, but actually I'm pleasantly surprised with the first 20% who I hope are listening to us now as well.
Yeah, thank you. This is the great number, and I'm sure that together we will make it even better. So thank you once again for your time, and thank you for sharing really, really fresh analysis that you did for us. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And the floor will be taken soon by Eva Chvalkovská. So Eva, I hope we have you. Eva is from Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, and I have to also say a big thank you for cooperation in making a methodology for buying circular furniture that we did together last year together. So Eva, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for having me in such an interesting seminar. I just would like to share our quick introduction, because I know some of you are acquainted with us, with our project, but some might not be. I'm working for the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs. And our project is focused on promoting and assisting with responsible public procurement. And we are serving, I hope, as the change agent or the transition broker partially, of course, in cooperation with other institutions like INSEE and IS2. And we are Competence Center for Responsible Public Procurement. We provide best practice examples, methodologies, checklists, and publications. Last year, we have established Institute for Responsible Public Procurement, which generates various webinars and trainings for public authorities, for mostly administrators of public procurement. We are also a place for networking and best practice sharing, and for this last year too, we have established platform for responsible public procurement. currently there is about 30 public authorities that are willing to move forward in responsible or sustainable public procurement in general. When I speak about responsible public procurement, which is the same, let's say, as sustainable public procurement, we talk about three main areas which we focus on in the Czech Republic, the key issues, which is focus on people, which is employment of disadvantaged people who are disadvantaged on the labor market. We are also trying to focus on promoting education or providing apprenticeships, practical employment wherever it is possible in suitable public procurement. And we also focus on decent working conditions and health and safety, mostly, let's say, in construction projects. The second area is focus on businesses or social enterprises and small and medium-sized enterprises, and opening public procurement more for their participation and setting fair conditions in supply chain. Mainly, there is the main issue, let's say, in-time payments for subcontractors. Ethical purchasing in some public procurements also makes sense to focus on. And big area is environment and circular procurement. And there is a whole bunch of requirements that public authorities can require. And since today we are here talking mostly about circular procurement, I can mention a few procurements where for us it makes sense to focus on what we see from practice in public procurement. It's of course construction projects. It's also buying energy from renewable sources. It's ICT procurement, furniture, textile. Of course, it can be office supplies and smaller purchases in offices of public authorities. And I also mentioned the question for today, what we are interested or where we can see potential, where circular procurement is connected with innovations and also social innovations, because we see circular procurement as opportunity for job creation, for new getting new skills for people who are disadvantaged on the labor market. So this is something which we would be very much interested. I know we saw the presentation from a company that is also providing circular carpets and so on. So this can be also space for new jobs. And social innovation and connection to circular procurement is for us very, very interesting, and we would like to hear more about it. And we think that this is a big opportunity also for Czech public authorities. And Jiří, before he spoke about changing the culture, and I believe this is important point, and but from our work from recent years we can see there's a lot of public authorities or people in those authorities who are behind this change of culture, and I believe this is positive change, and we will and Czech Republic has big potential to move forward in this. So that's probably for Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs project for responsible public procurement.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing also what's going on at your ministry, because it's important to see the I would say innovations in public procurement in more perspectives, not just the environmental ones, but also the social ones that are together creating a responsible way of buying things. So thank you for this cooperation and for sharing this news. And I'd like to pass the floor to Pavlína Kulhánkova, who will attend the seminar as well. She's director of the Secondary Raw Materials Department at the Ministry of Industry and Trade. And unfortunately, if I have up-to-date news, Pavlína is having some problems with camera, but you will see her from the picture that we will be sharing. So Pavlína, the floor is yours right now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My deep apology for my camera is missing. It is not because my haircut is horrible, but it is because of some technical problems. And thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to be here. I think my role is more as a participant than a speaker, because a lot of very impressive speakers presented a lot of very interesting information for me. So I am very impressed now. So very shortly, my time is limited for 5 minutes, and it was the right decision because I think I don't want to waste your time. But from my and our department point of view, circular economy is one of the important tools for applying principle of sustainable development, especially sustainable production and consumption goals. So we know that this is very important area of our interest. And as a ministry responsible for raw materials policy and secondary raw materials policy, we see and we know that Czech Republic now is below the EU average in circular material use rate statistics, and our goal is to increase this indicator. This indicator is slowly increasing. Now we are our number is about 8.1. So we try to do something for increasing this number. We also know that there is some problems. We hear some information from the companies which are working with waste and produce some products based on secondary raw materials or waste, that there is not enough demand for their products, that they could process more waste or materials, but there is no interest on the other side. So that is why I see a circular public procurement or sustainable public procurement or green public procurement, we can call it as we want, as an opportunity to support the market for secondary raw materials and to stimulate demand for circular products. You see, this is very important role of circular public procurement to stabilize and to support the market for secondary raw materials as I see it. So I very much welcome the activities of private companies and also state institutions. We know a great work of Mrs. Falkovska's team, and that could help to promote the replacement of non-renewable resources with secondary raw materials. So we are still teaching, we are still trying to absorb a lot of information and find some ways how to support public procurement activities towards the use of the higher use of recycled materials, higher use of some criteria for use of secondary raw materials for recycling and so on. So this is what is important for us. We participated with other ministries also on preparation of guidance for public purchasing focused on criteria for use of secondary raw materials and recycled products. So this is only some small part of our activities, and I'm really happy that I heard a lot of experience and a lot of practical information from this field. And thank you for your invitation and for this great workshop. Thank you.
And also thank you, Pavlína, for what you're doing to support circular economy from the beginning with all the activities done by ministry. of Industry and Trade, and also with an award showing good cases of circular economy, which is also very important, as we've heard before. So thank you for joining us. And right now, I'd like to invite Anna Pascova, the Director of the Department of Environmental Policy and Sustainable Development from Ministry of Environment. And would be great to have this third speech by the ministries to closing the whole idea that you can get about what's going on at the Czech ministries regarding to circular procurement and sustainable procurement in general. So Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sonia, very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to thank you, the organizers, for this opportunity to learn interesting experiences from Dutch colleagues. And as it was said, I will share the point of view of the Ministry of the Environment. And as I'm the head of Environmental Policy and Sustainable Development Department, I have more strategic than hands-on point of view. But as it was said today, public procurement represents a significant part of the EU and the Czech economy, and it is a crucial area for stimulating the development of the circular economy. And therefore, we see the circular economy as one of the keys to solutions to climate change and also biodiversity loss. Unfortunately, as we stated in our recent evaluation report of the implementation of the Agenda 2030, the circular economy is much more the aim still rather than a daily reality in the Czech Republic. But when we take it from the policies and strategies to ensure the systematic approach, the Czech Republic included circular economy including public procurement in its strategic documents. Those documents are the State Environmental Policy 2030, which was approved this year, this January. Also, we do have State Program of Environmental Education and Public Awareness. And we have to mention currently prepared strategic framework Circular Czechia 2040. The State Environmental Policy 2030 states it's clearly that the transition towards climate neutral and circular economy is priority number one. Public procurement is viewed as one of the cross-sectional instruments and emphasize responsible public procurement, which should contribute to the circulation of material in our economy. As it would say, it is by promoting repairability, extending the life cycle of products, preventing waste, reducing its production through the use of products containing secondary raw material and recycled materials. Currently prepared strategic framework, Circular Czechia 2040. And when we talk about public procurement, it supports almost all priorities and objectives that are drafted in the strategic framework. The strategy is still under development and it will be adopted this year. Although the Ministry of Regional Development is responsible for public procurement, the introduction and development of circular approach to public procurement, or better to say green or environmental aspects in the Czech Republic, has been long supported by the Ministry of the Environment. This has been done both by taking this concept into account in the strategic documents and also by providing methodological support, because it is really needed to give the guidance how to involve the criteria in the procurement. When we focus on legislation and methodology and education, we have to mention, or I would like to mention, two important things: the adoption of new waste package legislation, and of course, the amendment of Public Procurement Act that the speakers previous have spoken about already. The new waste legislation package was adopted last year. It's in effect since January this year. And this legislation is essential to fulfill our goals in material and waste management. And also it will create better space for use of secondary raw materials. I will skip the Public Procurement Act because we have already spoken about it. But what I would like to say, and also thanks the colleagues from the Ministry of Labour and Social Affairs, is the project of methodological support and education, which is necessary. And we are quite happy to cooperate within this project to add our part being environmental aspects. We would like to also stress the importance of development and wider introduction of certification or eco-labels, which are so far little used in the Czech Republic compared to the EU average. We are preparing an awareness campaign. Unfortunately, it was retarded by the COVID-19, but it's still in the preparation. Among specific activities of the Ministry of the Environment as coordinator of SDGs implementation, I would like to mention that we have launched an initiative called Nakupujeme odpovědně. In English, we buy responsibly. It was launched last year, last autumn. And the aim of this initiative is to motivate companies, but also public administration representatives and individuals to shop and buy responsibly. So I would like to invite you all who are not aware of this initiative to get involved and check our website cr2030.cz and to get involved. So far, we have also our one commitment of the Ministry of the Environment to update our operation to be social and ecologically responsible in our public procurement. And we will fulfill our voluntary commitment even on this intra and systematic interministerial level. So I would end at this, and I'm open to any question. And thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you for presenting all the news from the side of Ministry of Environment. I can see that the circular public procurement is also part of new strategy, circular Czechia 2040. So it's great to see that everything is kind of being setting up. And I guess that this is also important for public procurers to see that the ministries are ready to support all these initiatives. So thank you very much, Anna, for your participation. And the fourth lady in line is Adela Havlova from Havel & Partners. And I have to also thank you, Adela, for kind of opening this question about the exchange between the Czech and Dutch participants during the seminar, because it was your initiative, and it's also always great to have somebody to push forward to do this exchange. And I believe that in future we'll be doing more specific and more matchmaking oriented seminars with concrete results. But right now we are opening the question, and you are definitely the right person to start with. So Adela, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can see my presentation because yes, super, thank you. Thank you to having me here, and I welcome all friends of circular economy. I would like to present you with some basic information about public procurement in Czech Republic and several projects as examples. Many members of Green Deal platform are in our webinar today, but my presentation is designed for suppliers with no or just little idea about Czech or Slovak public procurement. The law governing public procurement in Czech Republic is based on European directives and was adopted in 2016. The English version is published on the website of the Ministry of Regional Development, which is responsible for this law. And this may be can be useful for foreign suppliers if they are searching for the Czech legal regulation. Public contracts are published or tenders are published by the public contracting authorities in the European journal TED, and also on Czech information system on Czech profiles, which is the website used by the contracting authority. So suppliers can find a list of the profiles of all public contracting authorities in the Czech Central Information System, which is here. The publication of a tender as well as the submission of the bids is a highly formal process. This is really important to know. This has its rules according to public procurement law and according to the tender documentations. It means the requirements set by the public authorities. It's basically done electronically. All contracts which are closed with the public authority have to be published in the Register of Contracts, which is publicly available. You can find the link in our presentation. The Register of Contracts thus offers a number of interesting information, also especially about the existing suppliers. From 1st January of this year, Czech law stipulates the obligation for all public authorities to take into account the principles of environmental or of social and social principles or innovation in public tenders. So this is the great opportunity to apply responsible procurement and innovation in public projects. We have to need to use it. Compared to the past, public authorities are now more motivated to deal with innovations and solutions available on the market. The principles are to be taken into account in the requirements for the subject of performance. It means technical specification and or in qualification or in selection criteria or in the contractual contractual conditions of delivery. However, public authorities are not fully used to this. Setting the right conditions in the tender is sometimes a problem or complication. The biggest discussion are about the correct setting of quality criteria. And as Jiří mentioned it, we face the strong negative, from my point of view, negative trend of competition according to the lowest price as acquisition costs. So it's important for the circular economy that also life cycle costs are taken into account where possible, including the site costs of production, cost of operating, repair, or disposal cost. But how to calculate it is the question. And every good practice and experience is welcome. Public authorities are increasingly open to discussion. Some of them are part of Green Deal platform in Czech Republic, which is very, very useful. Some of them perform annual or regular meetings with suppliers, so-called meet the buyers or meet the sellers. And many of them, many of public authorities are already using so-called preliminary market consultations, which are regulated in public procurement law, where they discuss the terms of a specific tender with potential suppliers. And also the design and build form of tender procedure leads to higher quality of the constructions. It means that the supplier is responsible not only for construction, but also for the design and project works. We also see that public authorities are asking for BIM, building information modeling, as a part of project, which makes the maintenance and repairs of the construction more efficient in the future. Another tool how to get the quality in public procurement is so-called best value method used as a quality selection criteria. Czech Republic is following in this the Dutch Rijkswaterstaat, and we have to say thanks to the colleagues from Best Value Group and Rijkswaterstaat for their big help with implementation of this best value method in Czech Republic. It's now 5 projects ready in big shape. We can discuss this in more detail later. So in general, the good news for suppliers is the public authorities are already largely able to communicate with the market. They are ready to listen to it. They are also ready to appreciate quality and added value. And the important thing is to find a way how the way to get the right information at the right time to the right places on the part of public investors. And this is where we need suppliers' involvement, from my point of view, and their know-how and experience exchange. So I would like to bring to your attention some public construction projects which are planned in the Czech Republic, and these projects are in various stages. Some of them at the very beginning of preparation, and some shortly before construction tenders begins. For example, in Prague this year, a big international architectural competition is being prepared for the construction of Philharmonic Hall. This will be organized by our law firm for Prague City. The feasibility study was already provided by an architectural studio from Copenhagen, by Henning Larsen. And the exhibition itself should start in 6 years. Thus, perhaps such a project is at the best stage to derive the maximum benefits of circular and innovative solutions. Another project is the construction of the campus and administrative building of Charles University in Hradec Králové in Eastern Bohemia. This project is now at the phase just before the building permit is to be issued. The university will soon tender for a general construction contractor, and according to detailed project documentation. I present this project to consider whether even in such a late phase is possible to come with some improvements and additional circularity in the project. So here I like to mention 3 large projects of the railway administration, which are currently in the phase of an architectural competition and before concluding a contract for design works. The largest of them is the construction of the main railway station in Brno, the second largest city in the Czech Republic. But we don't have to talk just about big projects. For example, Czech Invest agency is preparing, with our legal support, the reconstruction of its headquarters in Prague, namely selected interior spaces. Although it will be a small investment, so 30 million Czech crowns. So the interest is to make it clever and to use elements of circular economy for the construction work itself, for new equipment, and for future operation. And finally, what you can consider as a supplier are the questions. What circular solutions and innovations you can offer? In which sector? Who are your partners to speak with? And at what stage of the project? What is the best legal specification to be used in the tender documentation? What support do you need? Whether you need contacts in Czech Republic or information about the project or about legal regulations, and how to initiate a market consultation with an investor if it can be helpful. So from my side, it's everything, and just I can say we are here and ready to help you and to support circularity and innovation in the public projects together with INCIEN and other members of Green Deal platform in Czech Republic. And we hope that the islands of positive examples rise extensively, that we can make them legally safe, functional, and become as a standard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adela, for your contribution. And I have to say that, as you were mentioning at the end, it's very important to ask good questions to make this happen, and to be sure that we will kind of also do a big step in our paradigm shift that we have to do right now to not be looking just for quantitative criteria, but also to those that are focusing on quality, that can really change how we are buying and procuring stuff at the Czech Republic right now. And also thank you for your support at the Green Deal Memorandum, with your advices during the courses and with all the discussions that we are having together, because it's important to have this open discussion. And you are very often mentioning that that's why those that are applying for new stuff through public tenders have to talk with innovative companies, and I'm sure that we will definitely follow up on this. And also there is in discussion message from Wojciech Mosetzky that Prague will be holding an internal workshop in kickstarting circular procurement journey at the end of this month, and a lot of inspiration was here. So this is something that Wojciech admires. So if there is somebody who would like to get in touch, definitely do that, because I'm sure that if Prague will be starting on this journey, there will be a lot of help needed.
Sure.
So thank you for your contribution, Adela. And the last speaker, last but not least, is Cyril Klepek from Circle.com platform. And I'd like to invite Cyril to tell us how we can start with the small steps, but important steps in public procurement regarding to waste management, because we've been used to use in many documents I've been seeing that the waste that is being produced during the reconstructions or demolitions should be landfilled at the end of the process. And these small sentences were changing the whole circularity idea into one single linear way of using materials. But right now, similar to that lab platform, which is also through the digitalization bringing transparency in public procurement, the same is doing Circle platform. So Cyril, the floor is yours, and I promise that at the end I'll be really short and the seminar will end before 4 p.m. So Cyril, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for actually having this session. Green procurement is a super important, crucial topic. I will take it from the perspective of waste management, circular waste management, and I will share a presentation with you. I think most of us actually know Circle, but I will just very briefly go actually what are the things that actually might be actionable in your company, in your city. And this is something very important. But also I would love to mention like 5 points in the end about how to be clever in having a good contracts with your waste management company and in companies in general, because what we can see with thousands and thousands of companies active in Circle platform and hundreds of actually in consulting, we can see actually that being proactive is very crucial here. If we are not active towards the waste management experts, we don't have enough information. There is lack of transparency, and we are actually losing money, and also the environment is not doing well. So I will share with you some concrete tips in the end. So for those who don't know Circle, we are the Circle European leader in the field of circular waste management. Now 23 people with branches in 5 countries. Actually, the map is not updated because it's quite hard to keep on track with the expansion. Nowadays, we are also in Italy, French, and Spain. And we have more than 5,500 companies like Lidl, IKEA, Skanska, many more actually that actually are selling their waste through a Circle, and we help them with the Circle waste management. And on those companies, and also a lot of municipality cities, I will also mention what are the best practices in this section. One definitely I would mention is really to be aware of the value of your materials, because to have a really good relationship and good legal agreement after it, it's super important to know the value of your materials, to know the value of your waste. There are two tools basically that you can actually use for free. Circle.com is the biggest waste trading marketplace nowadays in Europe. Actually, there's a couple of thousands of offers available every day. And it works very well. It's free to use. And then the second one is a Circle Waste Scan. It's about really understanding the value in the materials. So I would just briefly in this show actually what are the things companies here are using. So for example, a lot of companies like in the retail and so on, they had a kind of like a struggle with their partners in the waste management industry because there was a lack of transparency, the data about the real prices and everything. So it's very good to just use it, check out the data, and to understand, okay, the current price for paper is actually this and not this. The current price for aluminium scrap is this and not this. The prices are going up and down like crazy, especially in past 12 months. For example, metal scrap is going up 62%, paper is also growth. So we read nowadays a lot of articles that the price of material is going up. So it's very important to have those information for companies. It's just about there's a lot of data and tech behind. So we are actually connecting companies based on the waste management, waste codes, based on the GPS location, some quality and quantity categories. And the second thing I mentioned, those circle waste scans, also very, very interesting. We in this actually analyze the material flow, and the very first thing we focus on is actually where the materials end up. Very often we just realize actually it is a landfill, because we have a probability calculation for every region. So for example, there are 14 regions in Czech Republic. There are some in Slovakia and other countries, and every region has a different probability handling with the concrete materials. So for companies to actually get better in their procurement regarding waste, it's also super important to know where does their waste ends up. So it's very often the first eye-opener when we actually analyze the situation. Actually, company that wants to have a zero landfill, actually the landfill quite a bit. This is a concrete data for quite a big international company. So then we identify the potential added value, we verify, we calculate. It is also possible to calculate price and CO2, and then we help them actually to get some real scoring and quite actually interesting saving. In waste management, it's a huge space for improvement regarding recycling, regarding carbon reduction, and also money saving. So in general, in the circle waste scan, we save like from 200 to 600 tons of CO2 every year based on those recommendations, and it's roughly 3 to 5 million Czech crowns, so like 200,000 euros. So it's a lot. So to basically wrap up, it is super important for you to know actually what is happening with your waste, with your materials, to understand the value in it and to know actually where does it end. Sometimes in really crazy scenarios, as we experience in the landfill in Čáslav, for example, a lot of companies of us approach us because they're supposed to be fined because they give waste to one company, and there was some not paid payment for the landfilling. So and it was very big risk for the company. So no such information is very variable. And when you actually know it, you can do something about it. Then the best practice actually nowadays is to have more partners for your waste management. It's just not just one, but it's usually you have one big company, big waste management company, but then you have like 5, 6, 7 partners for different waste streams, for paper, for metals, for all kind of materials actually are the most valuable. And in those companies, I highly recommend to have just a general agreement. And then basically on a monthly basis, do a bidding. So basically you approach them and they will always give you every month the real price for the metal, for the paper, for the plastic, and you actually choose one of them for every month. That's very important. Be proactive and agile. Something I mentioned in the past, it usually was the waste was usually something. Okay, just get rid of it, and I don't want to deal with it. Nowadays, it's much more proactive, agile approach. Actually, we want to deal with it. We want to know where actually does it end. Nowadays, a lot of companies finally in their when they're searching for a partner, actually writing down, okay, not just the price is important, but also the final destination. So for example, zero landfill, it could be also a case, or a way of handling with the materials. Very often it's super important to really know that actually it ends up here, because there is a lack of transparency. Waste management market is quite well known for it. So it's very good to have some kind of proof, some kind of document actually that they will give you. Regarding selective demolition, it's also very important to write down the documents that you want to more like specify your need actually. So when there is liquidation, you're supposed to really write down what does it actually mean. So sometimes, there is actually write down a need. It has to be landfill, which is completely nonsense, something archaic from the old times. But also nowadays, very often there is a very broad sentence that actually is supposed to be managed according to the something, which says pretty much nothing, and actually in reality it ends up somewhere different. So be very precise and write it down actually that you want to be taking care of this concrete use case. So those are the 4 points of concrete tips on the green procurement and from the waste management industry. So thank you very much for questions. I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Cyril. And I believe that everybody who's interested in more details can just join at circle.com and see not just information about your scans, but also at your blog. You're very often writing about good cases and concrete examples. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And I will have just really, really fast final words, because I know that we are at the end of the this seminar, and I'm really glad that you are here with us right now. And just only thing that I like to mention is that we started and we actually copy-paste, I would like to say, the general idea from our Dutch partners about Green Deal Memorandum, which is based on agreement in between different parties working together to make some circular changes happening in Czech Republic in this case. And right now we are running a memorandum about circular economy in public and private procurement together with more than 30 participants. As was mentioned by Johan at the beginning, in the Netherlands they were 40, and at the end they have more than 100 pilot projects. So I hope for the same in Czech Republic, to see how we can help to share concrete cases, how we can help you to get concrete examples and concrete methodologies that can be multiplied within your cities or within your public or private procurement processes. And if you are interested in joining us and in joining our goal, which is at the first to activate demand for local as secondary raw materials and other circular business models, but also be part of quite active platform. And you can see that we are organizing many seminars together with our partners that were already mentioned at the beginning to test how it works, how we can make these Dutch concepts working in Czech Republic, and also to actively involve other partners that can join us on the floor. Right now, I think that we used the most from 2 hours that we got together, and I really hope that you will join us for next seminars again with many people participating, and I hope that we will have more time for discussion. But you will get the record, you can share it with your platforms or with your colleagues. We will be very glad to see that all this information will spread over. If you will need any more information, let us know. But now I'd like to also say big thank you to our partners, not just the Embassy of the Netherlands in Czech Republic that is supporting us from the beginning with all these ideas in bridging know-how from the Netherlands to Czech Republic, but also to our partners from Havel and Partners, also to the Chamber of Commerce, Netherlands Czech Chamber of Commerce, Nadace Komerční banky, Nadace Jistota, and also the Climate Kick platform that is supporting this idea of creating and sharing the know-how about circular economy in public procurement. If you will need any questions to be answered after the seminar, let us know. You have our email, and you can wait for all the records and all the presentations that we will get from our speakers. Those will be shared amongst you. So thank you very much for your time, because this is very important investment from your side, and I'm really looking forward to see you next time. Have a good day.